Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the Uplift with Vision. I'm Reverend Patti, the Senior Minister here at Vision. I welcome you in from wherever you're tuning in, from our website or YouTube or wherever you are across the city or across the globe. I welcome you in today. We're going to talk more about Questions and Answers, the book that Ernest Holmes published in 1935, all about the science of mind and spirit and how it works and how we use it and how we can learn to use it more efficiently in our own lives to manifest those changes in our lives we'd like to see. And we're going to begin in prayer because we know that's where everything begins, right? We bookend all of our activities in prayer. So please join me right now as we go to prayer. I just give great thanks for this day. I know that as I awake, I put my feet on the ground, and as I do, I know that I am stepping into that field of infinite possibilities. The infinite potential surrounds us. The universal intelligence just surrounds us. We're steeped in it. It is within us. And we know and accept that that is the juice, for all of life. That is the energy with which we do everything. It beats our heart and breathes our breath and thinks our thoughts. It is this universal intelligence that knows of itself through its creations. And of course, we are that. We are some undivided, undifferentiated outpicturing of this divine life of God's, and we are heir to all of the good. All of the qualities of God flow through us into our world as we awaken to the truth of our own magnificence as spirit and form. So I step aside right now and let Spirit lead the way through this discussion, questions and answers, knowing truth is revealed right here and now, and so it is. Amen. So good afternoon. It's a lovely Monday. I'm so glad you're here. Like I said, we're going to continue with our book, Questions and Answers on the Science of Mind. This is the book that Ernest Holmes produced in 1935. And we are in the section 3, part 3, that's called Spiritual Healing. We started that last week. And so I just wanted to continue along with those. There are some fascinating questions. And I think that people who are new to the science of mind and spirit, doesn't matter what decade they're new to it. The questions that were asked in 1935 are many of the same questions we ask in 2021 because it's a universal teaching. So of course we're going to have those same questions on what is the thing itself? How does it work? How do I use it? How does it do what it does, right? And how can I use it to improve the conditions in my life? So let's start here with this question, eliminating fear. I thought it was a great place to start because, I think maybe a lot of fear has been up. This has been a tough year for all of us. This worldwide pandemic is something that I don't think any of us has ever seen, unless you're really, really old and you lived through the one from 1918 to 1920. I mean, that's the only reference that I really have for that, and I read about that in my history book, right? So this is kind of a new experience for all of us, and it's slightly unsettling. Now, I think we're coming out of it, but there still may be some levels of fear that we need to address and we need to eliminate. Because we know that fear is what holds us back in any of our demonstrations, in anything that we do. We need to move toward what we want and not what we don't want or what we fear. So here's the question. Ernest Holmes was asked, how can we rid ourselves of fear? Would working for perfect love be enough? And what an interesting question, right? Would working for perfect love be enough? Anyway, Ernest Holmes said, there is no man living who has completely eliminated all fear or all hurt. It is our belief that when the time comes, there is nothing in us that would or could do harm. We shall never be hurt again. But it's apparently quite a way ahead of us in our evolution. When the time comes in the life of any individual that he knows everything is all right, that there is nothing fundamentally wrong with the universe, he will cease to be afraid. And isn't that true? Don't you feel that in your own life, right? When you're comfortable in your life, you have nothing to fear. You're not, imagining all sorts of boogeymen, right? Your life works. It just does. He goes on to say this, it will come to all of us sometime, somewhere. Until it does come, we must treat the present fear and always be tending toward the perfect goal. I love that. Treat the present fear and always be tending toward the perfect goal. So it is about moving toward what we want, right? How do you treat fear? Well, you treat fear like the imposter that it is. You know, it is not the truth of us. It is merely a false belief. It's something that doesn't exist. It has no power of its own. It is not an entity, you know, like we've done away with the devil, right? There is no devil. There's no God and something else. There's only God. So any type of fear or devil or negative or evil entity is just a misuse of the law of unity, really. To think that there could be God and anything else opposing God is a misuse of the quality of God known as unity. There's only one. And we go back to core concept 1. There's God is all there is. So this idea of being afraid of anything is really a misuse of that law. It's a misuse of the law of power, right? The God quality of power. What is there to be afraid of? When the universe has your back, there's nothing to be afraid of, is there? Absolutely nothing. Okay, let's move on. There's another question. So we've just treated for fear, and then this next question I'm moving to, just as a perfect follow-up is what should be the treatment when doubt persists in lurking in the mind? So you've treated for fear, you've eliminated fear, maybe, right? So what do you do when you doubt, right? So maybe you're doubting the very treatment that you just gave. You're doubting the idea that there is nothing to fear. Ernest Holmes had this to say: when doubt persists, the treatment should definitely repudiate the doubt. Doubt is a subjective state and the result of false experiences and false conclusions regarding our life and the relationship to spiritual wholeness. Again, when we go back to the truth of our being, how could anybody be afraid? You and the universe, right? You're a majority. There is nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to overcome. There is nothing to fight against, because there is only you and God. There's only you as God. There's only God. That's really all there is. There's only God. We make it all up. We make up the idea of separation. We make up the idea of enemies. We make up the idea of us and something else opposing us. We make all of that up. I mean, it makes for great drama in our lives, don't you think? What would your life be like if you absolutely knew beyond a shadow of a doubt there's only God? There's only good, right? Oh my gosh, there would be nothing to concern you. You would be like the lilies of the field, right? No trouble. No spinning, just enjoying life. What a concept, right? There is nothing for you to worry about. We make up the worry. We make up all the reasons to worry. And we make them as real as they need to be. Ernest Holmes always said that, right? That things are as real as they need to be in our lives so that we can then overcome them. But if we didn't imagine them to be to begin with, there would be nothing to overcome. Let's see what else he had to say here. Thoughts are things, and mental attitudes assume their characteristics of entities until they are seen in their true light. When we recognize any doubt and consciously show ourselves why this particular doubt has no power, it dissolves. And that's an important statement. It is such an important truth for us to grasp that, you know, it's like the boogeyman. It's like the monster in the closet or the monster under our bed when we were children. It didn't exist, but in our minds, didn't we torture ourselves with it? Didn't we hold our teddy bear close, right? Because we imagine all kinds of monsters. We imagine all kinds of things to be afraid of. But when we confront it with the truth of our being, or the truth of our wholeness, the truth of spirit, it dissolves away into the nothingness from which it comes, because it has no substance. It is a thing of imagination. It's a thing of false belief. And so the only thing that can remain is the eternal truth. Ernest Holmes goes on to say this: it may take both time and patience to dissolve certain doubts and fears, but the reward is sure if the work is done scientifically. Allow the doubt to come into your conscious mind, analyze it out of your mind. Do this until you see there is no power in doubt. It can neither be person, place, nor thing. It has no power, and it can no longer operate through you. Assume the opposite attitude and claim confidence in yourself and in what you're doing. Rise above the doubt to a clear atmosphere of receptivity and agreement with the good that you seek to manifest or have manifested through you. Now, this is a great example of this idea of denials and affirmations, And Emma Curtis Hopkins was very strong with that, bring the thing up that you're afraid of. Look it square in the face. See it for the illusion of separation that it is, and be done with it. We're so afraid sometimes these, I referred to Debbie Ford yesterday during the Sunday conversation about the book she wrote, The Dark Side of Light Chasers, because some people who are on this spiritual path are afraid to look at the darkness because they think, oh, we'll get more of that. It's almost like a superstitious fear. If I look at the darkness, if I look over there, I'm going to just grow more of that. And what Emma said is sometimes you do have to look at the fear, look at the doubt, look at the darkness right in the face, just confront it, look at it for all it's worth, and realize that it has no power of its own. The only power it has is the power you're giving it by your fear energy, and by your doubt energy. And when you look at it face to face, when you shine the light on it, what happens is the light dissolves it away because it has no substance. It doesn't exist. And that's going deeper into, again, our shadow nature. I talked about that yesterday. It's about going deeper into the fear so that we can deconstruct it. That's really what we're doing. It has no power of its own. It has no substance. It is merely a misuse of the power of God. Now, Ernest Holmes goes on to say just a little bit more about this. He says, a good method is to drop all argument from the mind and allow the thought to enter a field of peace and poise. Having gained this point, calmly turn to the disturbed idea and state it cannot enter into your mentality. Do not fight it or oppose it, but stand above it and declare it has no power to operate through you. And that's really what we do. And that is also what we do when we do our affirmative prayer, is that we can use denials and affirmations in our affirmative prayers. We stand in the truth of the belief that there is only one, that there is nothing opposed to God. There is nothing opposed to good. There is only the one. And so we can look at the appearance of something contrary to good. We can look at the appearance of our challenge or whatever it is and know it has no substance. And when we do that, when we shine the light on it, it evaporates. It evaporates like it wasn't there, like putting a pin in a balloon. It could be a gigantic balloon. But when we put the pin of truth into it, boom, it's gone. It has no substance, right? It was just a manifestation of an incorrect or a false thought or a fear thought. And pierced with the pin of truth, it just dissolves away. It's just eliminated. So I love that. So fear, doubt. What else can we talk about? Okay, so here, let me do this one. This is the last one I'll do before we go. Dissolving a false belief. We've been talking about that, right, since 1 o'clock. Okay, so here we go. Please explain your method of dissolving a false belief. And Ernest Holmes is really clear. A false belief is dissolved from the subjective by repetition of the truth in its place. And this is important to remember because sometimes we can't know what exactly is that the basic fear or the fundamental fear or the core belief. It could be something that is so far beneath our subconscious, we can't pull it up. But by repetition, Ernest Holmes said, we can still overcome that. We can still transcend it even if we can't remember it. It is a right about face, he says, a mental action in the opposite direction from the habitual one. A drop of clear water repeatedly let fall into a bottle full of dirty water will eventually show the bottle to be full of clear water. Repetition is the key. A false belief, when recognized to be false, is displaced by the repetition of what you know to be true. What I know to be true is that God is all there is. And what I know to be true is God and I are a majority, right? Because I am some part of the life of God. And what I know to be true is that God makes a way out of no way. Things that we don't even know, we can't even imagine how they could be resolved, all of a sudden become resolved because we've taken our hands off the wheel, we've given Spirit, the direction, and we've allowed Spirit the how, and we get a demonstration like, oh my God, I could have never thought that up, not in a million years, but the demonstration is made because we have surrendered to this power and presence that absolutely knows the better outcome, knows the gift, knows the higher thought. Even when we can't imagine what that would be, it becomes clear when we surrender into that power and presence. Ernest Holmes says, the false belief, when recognized to be false, is displaced by a repetition of what you know to be true. Your first repetitions may seem to be intellectual statements in which your emotions play no part. But if the statement is repeated often enough and with sincere desire to believe it, the moment comes when the last resistance lets go, as the last drop of muddy water is washed from the bottle. It takes time, patience, and a determination to win, but the result is highly worth the effort. And I do like the way he explained that it can feel like it is strictly a mental pursuit in the beginning. All I'm doing is memorizing these affirmations and I don't feel anything and I'm just saying it over and over again and this is silly, I'm just doing this by rote. But he does say continue doing it. Continue doing it. It might feel like just a mental pursuit, but keep doing it anyway. And it suddenly, over time, it does fall down into our consciousness, down into our heart space, down at that deeper level. And then what happens is that the emotional tie-in is right there. So now you have the purpose and the passion, like Ernest Holmes always said. You have the technique and the fire, right? Because now you've incorporated it with your heart space, with your emotion. And then what happens is what Emma Curtis Hopkins says all along, then grace carries us the rest of the way. Grace carries us the rest of the way. And that is a huge demonstration in our lives. And I'm going to leave it there for now. We're going to pray out, and I will see you next time. So stay with me. As we go into prayer right here and right now, knowing that God is the infinite power and presence of our lives, there is nothing else but Spirit operating in and through and as us, taking direction from our most predominant thought and outpicturing it into our conditions. And so we know as we rise in consciousness, as we lift our eyes to the divine, the eternal truth, as we lift our countenance, as we lift our consciousness to know an even greater truth than the one we knew this morning or the one we knew the night before, we know that continuing lifting of our consciousness shows itself in our conditions, shows itself in the manifestations around us, and becomes our life. And so we know as we practice this science of mind and spirit, as we go deeper on this path, we know that God is, we are, and so it is. Amen. So thank you for joining me today. Love, love, love going through this book with you. I'll see you again on Friday for more of the spiritual healing. That's part 3 of this book. And then next week we'll probably get to part 4, which is miscellaneous questions, ones that didn't fit under any particular part in the book. He put them at the end. And so it's sort of a hodgepodge of all kinds of questions, and that'll be exciting too. Don't forget to tune in on Wednesday. We have our special Uplift guest speaker. I don't know who it is yet, but John will tell me right after this. I will see you again on Friday at 1. From my heart to yours vision, we are one through this technology. And I know we're going to be one together in physical form very soon. I know it's coming. I know it's coming. I will see you on Friday. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.